Yeah, so let me just tell you what we did in the previous class. In the previous class, we showed the following things. That is, we showed that Ax equal to lambda x is an eigenvalue problem. And we also showed that lambda and x can be obtained, a whole bunch of lambda and x can be obtained by solving the characteristic eigenvalue problem, where we have by solving determinant a minus lambda I equal to phi of lambda equal to 0, and for each I, we can get the eigenvector x of I. So I have axi is equal to lambda ixi. Okay, so I get the solution, and then we also showed a few other results, like the sum of the eigenvalues is equal to sum of the diagonal elements, and the product of the eigenvalues is equal to determinant of the matrix A. And we discussed about the Hermitian and unitary matrices. When all the matrix elements are real, Hermitian becomes a symmetric matrix. It's called matrix, and unitary matrix becomes what is called an orthogonal matrix. So these are just the names for these two things. And I also showed that the eigenvector Hermitian matrix has real eigenvalues. And eigenvectors for different eigenvalues are orthogonal. Showed that. And then I also showed that for unitary matrices, modulus of the eigenvalue is 1. Okay, and so Hermitian matrices have eigenfunctions which span an orthonormal set. So in general, okay, the eigenvectors of a Hermitian matrix form an orthonormal set. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, so now let me come to what are called the problem of this thing, diagonalization of a Hermitian matrix. Can I call you later? I'm in a class. Diagonalization of a Hermitian matrix. We will deal with this one. And so let us consider the following matrix. Consider, say, Hx I lambda xi. Okay, H is Hermitian. Lambda I is real, and xi xj is equal to delta ij. I have also normal eigenvectors, because you can multiply an eigenvector by any constant and it is still an eigenvector, so we can normalize it. And when the eigen values are different, automatically lambda x, the xi and xj are orthogonal. But when the eigenvalues are degenerate, that means there is more than one eigenvector corresponding to the same eigenvalue, then these eigenvectors are linearly independent, and one can form Gram-Schmidt, do a Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization and obtain orthogonal eigenvectors, orthonormal eigenvectors indeed. And so without loss of generality, I'll just assume that xi are all orthonormal. Okay. So now consider the following matrix. Consider the matrix P, which is given by columns of the eigenvectors x1, x2. Sorry, there is no comma here. So I'm writing down this thing, the columns of the matrix P, and all these columns are just the vectors. Okay, x1, x2, xn. So supposing I am looking at the matrix element Pij. Okay, this is actually in the ith row and jth column. So this is the ith element of the jth eigenvector, because jth eigenvector is the jth column. So this is equal to x jth eigenvector xj ith element. Okay, so Pij is equal to xji. Okay, now let me also consider another matrix, which is a diagonal matrix, lambda. This is actually equal to the eigenvalues on the diagonal, lambda 1, lambda 2, etc., lambda n. Everywhere else it is 0. So this is a diagonal matrix. Now, given this matrix, I can form two products. So one product that I can form is P of lambda. Okay, and what will be the ijth matrix element of this? The ijth matrix element of this is sigma over k, Pik, lambda kj. Okay, and lambda kj is equal to lambda j delta kj. Okay, so what I will get on the right hand side is sigma over k Pik lambda j. Okay, and let me go back to my definition of Pik.
Sir, what is P lambda ij?
P lambda ij. P lambda is a matrix. I'm multiplying two matrices, P and lambda.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm looking at the ijth matrix element of P lambda.
Okay.
And that is given by sigma over k, Pik, lambda kj. So let me put this one as capital. And lambda kj is actually lambda j delta kj. Okay, so this will be sigma over k, Pik, lambda kj. So this will be equal to lambda j times sigma over k, Pik. Okay. Now let me see what it means.
Sir,
Sorry.
you have written lambda j, then where did delta kj go?
Yeah, delta kj, I'll just do it again, okay? I made a mistake, let me correct myself. Okay. So this is equal to sigma over k, Pik, lambda j, delta kj, right? And what this will give me is just nothing but lambda j, Pij. Okay, right? Any doubt? Because all I have done is I've substituted what I have here, which is lambda kj is equal to lambda j delta kj, because you see that lambda is a diagonal matrix element. Only when k equal to j, it will have the same value. And so we are running over k is equal to 1, 2, 3, etc. So only when k hits the value j, I get a lambda j. And so when k hits the value j, I have pij times lambda j. Okay, so this is the thing that I have. Now let me see what I will get if I look at APij. Okay, so I'll look at another matrix product AP, and I look at the ij matrix element. Okay, so this is equal to sigma over k aik pkj, right? Correct, because that's just a product of two matrices, right? Okay,
Yes.
so now I can write down pkj. I had a is nothing but xj k, right? Because this is what I had shown you, that when I have pij, it is xj and ith element. So pkj is the kth element of xj. Okay, the vector xj. Okay, so this is equal to sigma over k aik x jth eigenvector. So I'll have j here just to show you that it's an eigenvector kk. Okay, this is equal to lambda j xi. Am I right? Of the jth element, of the jth eigenvector. Okay, so or this is equal to lambda j times xji, because when you multiply, what you are having is pkj is nothing but the jth eigenvector and the kth element. Okay, so jth eigenvector, I have tried to put it in the this thing superscript. Okay, so this is nothing but, if I give you a jth eigenvector, all I have is, you know, sigma over k aik. So xjk is equal to lambda j xij, right? Because this is the ith equation for the eigenvalue problem corresponding to eigenvalue lambda and eigenvector xj. Okay, so if I take the eigenvector xj, what I have is, I have to sum over all components of eigenvector xj, which is xkj, sigma over k aik xjk, and that will give me the eigenvalue lambda j times the component of the eigenvector xij. Is it clear?
So
Do you
could
follow
you
it?
repeat once again?
Okay, now I am trying to form the product of two matrices A and P.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and I want to get the ijth element.
Okay.
So the ijth element is nothing but sigma over k aik pkj.
Okay.
Okay, and pkj is the kth element of the jth eigenvector.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So I substitute for pkj as the kth element of jth eigenvector and sum over it. So this corresponds to the ith equation. So this is the ith equation in axj is equal to lambda j xj. Okay, because if I write down the equation, right side I get the ith component, which is lambda j xi, right, corresponding to the eigenvector j.
Yes.
Okay, because I have eigenvector j, and the ith component is what I'm going to write, and j is the eigenvalue, lambda j. So lambda j xji is the right hand side, and the left hand side is, I have to look at the ith equation, which is sigma over k aik xk of the jth eigenvector. Okay, so this is nothing but writing down the ith equation of axj is equal to lambda j xj. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so I presume it is clear for everyone. So let me go further. So what is this equal to? Lambda j xji is equal to Pij, okay, times lambda j, because xji, the definition of the Pij element is the ith component of the eigenvector xj. Okay, because xji is equal to Pij. So this is what I had before. So I had the vector P, and then I had shown somewhere the definition of P. Yeah, P. Okay, so here I have got. Okay, so you see here, Pij is equal to xgi, right? So that's what I had used. So now look at these two equations. So this is equation 2, let me call it, because they're not there. So I call this equation 2, and I call this equation 1. So this is equation 1. So what happens is that P lambda is equal to AP, because every matrix element of P lambda, every matrix element of P lambda is equal to every matrix element of AP, right? Because that's what, because I and J are general. Okay, I just took a general element of AP and showed that that was equal to the general element of P lambda. So I can say that AP is equal to P lambda. Okay, now P is P matrix P. P is a non-singular matrix. Why is it singular? Because all its columns are linearly independent. Independent are in fact orthogonal. All its columns are orthogonal. In fact, orthonormal. Okay. So because of that, I have an inverse for P. So I can write down A as equal to P lambda P inverse by multiplying on the right hand side by P inverse in on both sides of the equation. So do you follow this? So
Yes.
a matrix A, if you can obtain the eigenvalues and eigenvectors, then you can show that A can be written as P lambda P inverse, or I can also write P inverse AP is equal to lambda. Okay, all I did was left multiply by P inverse and right multiply by P, then I'll get this one. Or in other words, I have AP equal to P lambda. I left multiply by P inverse, then I'll get P inverse AP is equal to lambda. Okay, so these are the two relationships which are very important. That is, there is a one-to-one correspondence between the matrix A and the matrix of eigenvalues, and the connection comes through the matrix P, and the matrix P is called polar matrix or the matrix or modal matrix. P is called polar modal matrix and is unitary for a Hermitian matrix. Because the eigenvectors Hermitian matrix are all orthonormal. Okay, because of that, P becomes a unitary matrix, and so P inverse A is P equal to lambda. Now, why is this so important? Okay, P. Very often we need to find. We need to define functions of matrices. Okay, for example, I want to define A squared. Okay, so A squared I can write it as P lambda P inverse times P lambda P inverse. So what do I get? P inverse P is an identity, so I just get it as P lambda squared P inverse. Okay, and what is lambda squared? If lambda is a diagonal matrix, what is lambda squared? When you multiply two diagonal matrices, what do you get? Nobody answers? You don't know the answer, or you know the answer?
Diagonals square.
Huh?
Diagonal elements would be square.
Square, right? So lambda squared 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, etc. 0, 0, n squared. Okay, or lambda squared is equal to lambda 1 squared, lambda 2 squared, etc. n, and everything 0. So what happens when you cube it? It's exactly the same thing, right? So if you take A cubed is equal to P lambda cubed P inverse. Okay, or in fact, any function of a matrix f of A is equal to P f of lambda P inverse. Okay, and what is f of lambda equal to? F of lambda 1, f of lambda 2, etc. f of lambda n 0, 0. Okay, this is it. Okay, and you come across, for example, functions of matrices you come across when you are doing quantum statistics. Okay, we need to find quantum matrices in statistics. Okay, because in quantum statistics, what is this thing? The canonical partition function given by z is equal to trace e to the minus beta h. Have you come across this? H is a Hamiltonian matrix. Have you come across this?
No, sir.
Okay, so you have to find an exponential function of a matrix. Okay, you will come across that if you do quantum statistics sometime. So basically, you will have to then obtain a function of the exponential function of the Hamiltonian matrix, is e to the minus beta h. Okay, and similarly, when you are doing a rotation in quantum mechanics, rotation by say angle z and theta around z axis is given by this matrix e to the u is equal to e to the minus h of Lz. Okay, Lz is the angular momentum matrix. Okay, so you'll have to calculate many of these things. So it's very important to define functions of matrices. So that's how you are, that's why diagonalization of a Hermitian matrix is important. If you can diagonalize a Hermitian matrix, you can easily compute functions of matrices, or you can define functions of matrices. For example, I can obtain a square root of a matrix. Okay, and square root of a matrix, for example, if I take the matrix S, which is an overlap matrix, where Sij is given by integral pi star pj d tau. Okay, then for something called Loudon orthogonalization, you will come across that in quantum chemistry. Loudon orthogonalization, we need to compute s to the minus half. Okay, so if you want to compute s minus half, then there must be a way of doing it, and this is the way you can go about. You have to just get the eigen values and eigen vectors of Sij, and then construct the model matrix P, and then the lambda matrix, take lambda to the minus half and retransform it. Okay, so that's why it's so important. So defining functions of matrices. Otherwise, can you imagine if I have to calculate something like e to the power a? Okay, so I will have to keep multiplying, 1 plus a plus a squared by factorial plus etc. plus a to the power n by n factorial plus etc. etc. So you have to keep doing it until infinity, and it's going to be really, really difficult, because multiplying a matrix is a very costly process. Okay, computationally. Okay, so given this, I'll come to another result which is quite important. Which okay, any questions on functions of matrices? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay, so you can take a matrix like take A equal to 0, 1, 0. Okay, and okay, so that is one of the assignments that I'm asking you to do. Okay, now let us come to the following. See, the matrix A has the characteristic equation determinant A minus lambda I is equal to 0, and this is actually P of lambda. It's a polynomial of degree n. Right? Now, let me find out what is P of A. Okay. What is P of A? That is given by P inverse. Okay. P of A is equal to P of the lambda matrix times P inverse. Okay. P of the lambda matrix P inverse, and this is equal to P times what is the P lambda? The phi lambda matrix is phi lambda 1, phi lambda 2, phi lambda n equals to P inverse, where lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda n are eigenvalues of A. So what can you say about phi lambda 1? What is the value of phi lambda 1? How do you get eigenvalues of this thing? How do you get the roots of phi lambda? The roots of the polynomial phi lambda, how do you get? At least in principle, you get it by minus lambda 1. So factor it. Yes or no? I don't get an answer, then I'll just log out and go.
I did not get this
I
point.
want an yes or no answer.
Phi lambda equals lambda minus lambda 1. Okay. Okay, sir. Yes.
Okay. That's how you get when
Factorization.
phi
Yes.
lambda equal to 0. How do you get the roots? By factorizing it,
Yes, yes.
right?
Yes.
So I have factorized it. And so what happens to phi lambda 1? What is the value of phi lambda?
0.
When you put lambda equal to lambda 1, what do you get?
0.
Then how much time does it take you to answer? This is equal to phi lambda 2 equal to phi lambda 3 is equal to phi lambda n. All of them are 0, right? Okay. So what I have here is phi of A is equal to P times a null matrix times P inverse. What is this equal to? What do you get when you multiply something by a null matrix?
0. 0 matrix.
0. That is a null matrix. So this is equal to 0, right? This is a null matrix. P of A equal to 0. Okay. So we have a theorem which goes by the name of Cayley-Hamilton theorem. Says that every matrix satisfies its own characteristic equation. So this is very interesting. Okay. So supposing I have, let A be a 3 by 3 matrix. By the way, any questions on Cayley-Hamilton theorem?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's continue. Let A be a 3 by 3 matrix. Then the characteristic equation phi lambda is equal to C naught lambda naught. See. Okay, plus C1 lambda plus C2 lambda square plus C3 lambda cubed. So this is what you get an expression for phi of lambda. Okay, because it's a 3 by 3 determinant. Okay, so you will have to expand this determinant A11 minus lambda, A12, A13, A21, A22, 2, 2 minus lambda, A2, 3, A1, 3, 2, A3, 3 minus lambda. You have to expand this determinant and put that equal to 0. Then you basically get C0 plus C1 lambda plus C2 lambda squared plus C3 lambda cubed. Now you see something interesting. We know that P of A is equal to 0, which means C0 plus C1A plus C2A squared plus C3A cubed equal to 0. Or I can write down A cubed as equal to minus by C3 to C0 plus C1A plus C2A squared. Okay, so I can write down A cubed here. So A cubed can be written in terms of these. A to the power 4 can be written similarly in terms of A squared. So any power of A greater than 3 as sum of the matrices of matrix of matrices I, A and A squared. Okay. Or in general, any n by n matrix raised to any power can be expressed any power, let me say greater than n, can be expressed as a sum of the matrices, any n by n matrix A, let me call it. Sum of the matrices I, A squared, etc., A to the power n minus 1. Okay, so you never have to go beyond that. For example, if I give you a 2 by 2 matrix, okay, and I ask you to raise a 2 by 2 matrix to any power, what is it? What is the question?
No, sir, no question.
Okay, so any power of a 2 by 2 matrix based as a sum of some matrix and any power of 2 by 2 matrix A, okay, and A, because n is equal to 2, so A for n C naught I plus C1A. Okay, this is very important, and you will see that, for example, if I take an exponential operator, exponential of a 2 by 2 matrix, then the exponential of a 2 by 2 matrix can only be a sum of identity, some constant times an identity matrix plus another constant times the original matrix here. Okay, so this is very useful in many ways. You will encounter this when you are dealing with spin problems in rotation and so forth. Okay, so that will be important. Okay, any questions so far?
Sir.
Any questions?
No, sir.
No? Okay, now the next result that I'm going to tell you is the following. That is, given any polynomial, of n, let me call this P of n equal to a naught plus a1 Pn of P of n of lambda. Okay. So a1 lambda squared all the way up to a n. We can find a matrix A which characteristic polynomial. That means I have polynomial and I give a polynomial again. Can you think of a matrix whose characteristic equation is this polynomial? That is a question that I'm asking. Okay. And the answer is yes, of course I can find it, and it's very simple to find it. Okay. So for that, consider the following. Okay. Consider the matrix minus a n minus 1 a naught. Okay. And minus 1 0 0 0 0 minus 1 0 etc. all the way down to 0 0 minus 1 0. So consider this matrix. Okay. So if I consider this matrix, then the characteristic equation for this matrix is given by a determinant, say lambda I minus a, okay, which is the same as a minus lambda I. Okay, doesn't matter whether you p equal to 0 or minus pn equal to 0. The roots are exactly the same. Okay, so this can be written as equal to lambda minus a1, lambda plus a1 rather, a2 lambda plus an plus an minus 1. Okay. Etc. an. Then I have a minus 1. Then I have minus lambda 0 minus 1 minus 1. Then I'll have a minus lambda here 0, so on until I have, sorry, mistake. Okay, so I have a minus 1 minus lambda. Okay, and then I'll have 0 etc. This one minus. Determinant of this is what I'm looking at. Okay, what I'll do is let me multiply the second column, the first column by lambda and add it to the second column. Okay. Now I have taken minus I, no? So this will be plus. Right. So what I'm going to do is when I evaluate determinant, I can do column operations, right? So when I do the column operations, what I'm going to do is multiply column 1 by lambda and add to column 2. So then what you will get is the following. Some lambda plus an, okay, and then I have a minus 1, okay, plus I'm multiplying by lambda, right? So it will become a n lambda plus a n squared lambda plus a n lambda plus lambda squared, okay? And this is 1, 0, and the diagonal element will vanish, right? So this goes to 0. And then I have below that, I have a plus 1. Then the next lambda, and this is a minus 2, 1 to a naught, 0, 0, 0, 1, and minus lambda. Okay, so what I have done is lambda times lambda plus an is an lambda plus lambda square, and I have added that to an minus 1, and similarly I have multiplied this one by lambda and added to that one, so that goes to 0. Okay, and then let me continue in the same fashion. So what I will do next is the following: multiply column 2 by lambda and column 3. So when you do that, what do you get? I'll get lambda plus an here, 1, 0, an minus 1 plus an lambda plus lambda squared, then 0, then I have a 1, 0, and this term will become an minus 2 plus an minus 1 lambda plus an minus 1 2 plus an minus lambda plus, just a second, an lambda I had, right, plus an lambda squared plus lambda cubed, right? Because I'm multiplying this one by that, so I'll get lambda cubed plus an lambda squared plus an minus 1 lambda plus an minus 2, and then I'll get a 0 here, then a minus 1 and all the way to 0, and I have a minus 1 lambda. Is that clear? Look at it a little more carefully. So I can keep doing this until we reach the last column. Next, what you will do is you multiply 3 by lambda and add to column 4 and so on and so forth. So then what you will get is the following. You will get a determinant of the following size type. So you will get, okay, some star, star, these are all irrelevant. And then in the end, I will get and I'll get 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, all the way down to 0, 0, 0, equal to, what is equal to? P and lambda, right? Because I expand it by the last column. Okay, when I expand it by the last column, then I'm left with this unit determinant, okay, which will give me 1 times P and lambda, and everything else is 0. So that's going to be equal to P and lambda. So what I have been able to prove is that for every polynomial P and lambda, we can have a matrix A whose characteristic polynomial okay, so what I have shown is that in this case determinant A minus lambda I is equal to P and lambda. I wrote for the A, the matrix that I had written before. A is this matrix. So if I just write down this matrix and then calculate, so I have my coefficients A0, A1, A2, etc., AN. Okay. So I just write down the first row to be the coefficients, and from second row onwards, I'll have a this thing a upper band which corresponds to this one below the diagonal, and I put -1 on all the positions one below the diagonal, and then I write down the characteristic equation for this one. Then you will see the characteristic equation for this one is the polynomial Phi and lambda. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is slightly different. I'll something that I want to prove when it comes to two commuting Hermitian matrices. If we have two commuting matrices A and B, then they have a common set of eigenfunctions. So what I have is a given is the following: A and B are Hermitian, and A, B, and if AXI is equal to lambda IXI, lambda A, okay. Let me call the eigenvalues AIXI, and then BXI will be BIXI. Okay, so where XI is common to A and B. Okay, one of the important things that I should say at this point is that I have assumed that A and B both have only non-degenerate eigenvalues and eigenfunctions. Okay, if they have degenerate eigenvalues and eigenfunctions, then you have to construct an appropriate linear combination which satisfies this condition. Okay, I suppose you understand this. So, for example, if AX1 is equal to A1X1, AX2 is equal to A1X2, then BX1 is not equal to B1X1, or BX2 is not equal to B2X2, but some combination which is C1X1 plus C2X2 equal to Y1, and D1X1 plus X2 equal to Y2 will satisfy BY1 equal to B1 Y1, and BY2 is equal to B2 Y2. Okay, what you see is that Because the two eigenvalues are degenerate, any linear combination of them is also an eigenvector corresponding to the same eigenvalue. So ay1 is equal to a1y1 and ay2 is equal to a1y2. This is something that I had shown before. This is a principle of superposition. When eigenvalues are the same, the eigenvectors can be superposed, and the superposed eigenvectors are also eigenvectors with the same eigenvalue. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir, why
Because
can't, sir, if bx were not equals to b1x, why can't we have it equal? What will happen if it is equal?
no, in general it is not true. In general, it is not true. For example, I'll tell you, okay, in spin algebra, you come across this one very often, okay? So, you know, have you people known that a squared and sz commute? Have you done angular momentum anywhere?
Yes, sir, this we have done.
Or L squared LZ commute? You have done, right? So
Yes.
take the triplet state, okay? Okay. Then S squared T is equal to 2 times T, right? Because S is equal to 1 for triplet, okay? And eigenvalue is S into S plus 1 is the eigenvalue. Okay, so is equal to 2T. Now, if you take SZ, okay, then if so SZ can have what are the values MS can have? MS is equal to -1, 0, 1, right? S is equal to 1. MS can take values -1, 0, and 1. Okay, so let me take SZ equal to MS equal to 0. So 8 up down. Okay, 2 electrons, that is MS equal to 0, right? SZ with up down, give me 0 times up, right? But S squared times up down is not equal to 2 times up down, because the triplet is a linear combination of all possible MS values. Okay. Okay, do you follow that? So in general, it is not true that just because two operators commute and they are Hermitian, they have the same eigenstates. You have to take trouble to construct the same eigenstates by taking appropriate linear combinations of the eigenstates of one of them. So I have to take the appropriate linear combination of SZ, for example. For example, SZ operating upon up down. Sorry, S squared operating upon any one of these states should give me a 2. Okay. You will have occasion to learn that, but most important thing is that just because two operators commute A and B does not mean that every eigenstate of A is an eigenstate of B. That is true only when they have only non-degenerate eigenstates. When any one of them has degenerate eigenstates, you cannot do that. You cannot make that comment. Okay. So this is something that you can figure out by looking at this in spin algebra, angular momentum algebra. Okay. I hope you have done the angular. Have you done angular momentum operators?
Yes, sir, some we have done.
So I have done ladder operators.
Yes, ladder also we have done. I don't remember much
Okay.
though.
So if you read that, you will find out that, for example, while up down has SZ equal to 0, okay, S squared operating upon up down won't give you up down. It will give you up down plus down up, some linear combination. Okay.
Sir, which book to refer for what you are saying?
you can look up any quantum mechanics book. Okay, the easiest is probably I don't know whether you people can access this. There's a book called Decay and Decay. Introduction to Mechanics. Okay, but then there's so many quantum books. Okay, so you can either look at Decay and Decay, or you can look at Schiff, which is much more advanced. Okay, but it also has the same result. You have Sakurai, others which give you a Sakurai.
Okay.
Schiff. Or you can also look at the internet. Okay, any of these books. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now I have said that A and B, we have to be careful. So let us assume that the eigenstates which means that A is equal to lambda 1x. So I'm looking at a non-degenerate eigenstates of that. Okay, Ax is equal to lambda 1x. Now let me see what when I operate on the left by B, what do I get? Bax is equal to lambda 1 times Bx, because they are all linear operators or linear matrices. So BA lambda 1 into B into lambda 1 is equal to lambda 1 into B. Okay, but BA is equal to AB. Okay, therefore AB x is equal to lambda 1 Bx, right? So I just substitute B on the left hand side, AB, and so Bx equal to lambda 1 Bx, or A times Bx is equal to lambda 1 times Bx. This implies Bx is a multiple of x. Bx is a multiple of x, or Bx is equal to some omega times x, where omega is a constant. And that x is an eigenfunction, is an eigenvector of B with eigenvalue omega. Okay, so if A and commute, they have common set of eigenfunctions, which means that if B equal to B equal to x1, x2, xn, then the same model through PP is also equal to the same thing. The model matrix P of A and B are identical. A and B can be chosen to be the same. They are not identical, can be chosen. Be careful. Okay, that means that if what was the thing that I had? P inverse AP, right? I had the result if A is equal to B and A P inverse. We can write B also as P lambda B P inverse. That means A and B can be simultaneously diagonalized. Okay, if you find out the eigenvectors of A, then you get the model matrix P. The same model matrix will diagonalize B also. Okay, so this is a very important result. Okay, if two Hermitian matrices commute, Hermitian matrices are the only ones that are guaranteed to be diagonalizable. Commute, then they can have eigenfunctions and hence are simultaneously diagonalizable. Okay, so this is a very important result. By the way, have you people done measurement of the process in quantum mechanics?
The very basics, yeah, measurement of a component kind of thing.
Okay, so let us, for example, let us consider the following. Okay, so the position operator is X. Yes, and momentum operator Px do not commute, right?
Yes.
Do they commute X and Px?
No, no.
Right, they don't commute. Okay, so which means we also have the measurement thing postulate of measurement. In quantum mechanics says that only observables are eigenvalues. What it means is that if I want to measure, if I start with a general state, which is a linear combination of plane waves, which are actually plane waves are the eigenstates of Px. Okay, so if e to the ikx I can take. So if I have a linear combination of these, and I may try to make a measurement of Px, immediately the system goes into one of the eigenstates. Okay, and you measure the value of the eigenvalue is the measurement that you are going to get. Okay, so that's what the postulate of measurement is. So basically what it says is that given a general state, is a linear combination of eigenstates, C, etc., C plus C and P. Okay, then psi the property say let me say property A of the state psi, okay, collapses psi into one of the eigenstates So let's say that Pi is equal to Pi Pi. Okay, so Pi's that I have written here are actually eigenstates of the operator A, and I have expressed a general state psi in terms of these eigenstates of the operator A. So given a general state, I say that can be written as C1 Phi1 plus C2 Phi2 plus etc. Cn Pn, where Phi1 Phi2 Pn are eigenstates of A with eigenvalues Ai. So when I try to measure the property A on the state psi, what happens is that the state psi, when I try to measure A, collapses to a state Pi, the probability modulus Ci square. Okay. So supposing I'm giving you a hydrogen atom. Okay. Hydrogen atom is now, say, in a state which is a general state, which is a linear combination of, say, this thing 0.8 times P1s orbital and 0.6 P2s. Let us see. Okay. And I want to measure the energy of this general state. If I try to make a measurement of energy on this state using the Hamiltonian, so then 64% of the times energy of one state and 36% of the times energy state. I never can get any value which is other than the eigenvalues of Hamiltonian. Okay, this is very, very important because the only thing that you can measure are the eigenvalues. Okay, so that is why if two operators commute, okay, like then if two operators do not commute, then the eigenstate of one. Okay, so for example, in the XP case, we go to an eigenstate PS during while measuring Px. Okay, eigenstate eigenstate. Okay, and hence we do not get a value of measurement. So I get X value, at one time it may be, from the origin, it may be 1 angstrom, another time it can be 10 angstroms, and so on and so forth. Okay, depending upon what the eigenstate of Px you have gone into. So you will never get a single value of X. So this means that X, Px, common functions. Hence, there is uncertainty.
Hello.
What is the question?
Hello. Sir, could you tell something?
Hello?
Sir, could you tell something about the experimental techniques of doing these kind of
No,
measurements?
experimental techniques are, you can use spectroscopic techniques to measure the energies.
And so for position?
Superposition, of course, you can use, a microscope to get the position of the particle.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. To get the momentum, you can use, time of flight spectroscopy. How much time it takes for a particle to go from one point to the other. So from that, you can get the momentum.
Okay.
But the point is the following, that is, you cannot measure both of them simultaneously. Now, does X and Py commute? Do X and Py commute?
Yes.
They commute. So
Yes.
what can you say about the measurement of Y component of momentum and X component of position?
We can say that for a state eigenstate X,
Hmm.
eigenvalue of momentum Pi, the same state will be a eigen function for the X operator as well.
So,
We can measure
so
them
it means that we
simultaneously.
can simultaneously measure, okay, the position along X-axis and the momentum along Y-axis, okay, without any uncertainty,
Uncertain.
because X comma Py is equal to 0. Okay, but X and Px you cannot measure simultaneously because X comma Px 0. Okay, so X comma Px good. So you cannot measure X and Px simultaneously without any error, but X and Py you can measure simultaneously, without any error in X and Py. Okay, any questions?
No,
Any
sir.
questions at this point? Because this is a very, very important concept for quantum mechanics. Okay, that when two operators commute, they have a common set of eigenfunctions, and so you can measure the properties corresponding to these two operators with arbitrary accuracy. In fact, the quantum numbers that you write down for hydrogen atom, like N, L, Ml, Ms, all these are values of commuting operators, okay, which are H, L squared, Lz, and Sz. Okay, so the eigenvalues correspond to the quantum numbers correspond to the eigenvalues of totally commuting set of operators. Okay, so that is very important from the point of view of measurement. Okay, any questions?
No, sir.
So I can proceed.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, now let me come to another important concept, which is called a quadratic form. You come across quadratic forms when you are doing things like overlap integral. What are quadratic forms? Vector and a matrix A, a quadratic form is given by 2 called x bar transpose Ax. Okay, so what is Q equal to? If you write it down in expanded form, sigma over I, sigma over j equal to 1 to n, equal to 1 to n, A is n by n. Okay, and this times xi star aij xj. Okay, and in the quadratic form, there are something called definite forms. So Q is greater than 0 for any 0 only for x identical equal to 0. Q is called positive definite. Okay, and I'll just prove a theorem. It's a simple one. The theorem I'm going to prove is a matrix A is said to be not AX greater than 0 for any 0 and equal to 0 only for X identically equal to 0. Okay, so this is called A is said to be positive, and the theorem is the following. For a matrix A to be positive definite, for a Hermitian matrix it is. Okay, always. All its it's if it is to be positive definite, all its eigenvalues have to be greater than 0. To n greater than 0, all of them should be greater than 0. If a matrix is positive definite, if A is a positive definite matrix, then all its eigenvalues are greater than 0. Okay, so it's both ways. It's the theorem. So if A is positive, all the eigenvalues are positive. If all the eigenvalues are positive, then A is positive definite. So how do you prove it? So consider an arbitrary vector X. Okay, the basis of the eigenvectors of A because eigenvectors form orthogonal. Okay, so any vector space, okay, any n vector in the space can be expressed as a linear combination of these eigenvectors. Okay, so let us say that I have A E1 equal to lambda E1. Let me wait for the right. Okay, and AE2 equal to lambda 2 E2, etc. Okay, now I'll set any x and express in terms of linear combination. So I have it's freezing. I can write down x to be equal to C1 E1 plus C2 E2 plus etc. plus Cn E. Okay, and x transpose x transpose Ax plus C1 transpose A squared plus C2 squared. Actually, it is modulus E transpose E2 modulus E squared En rather En transpose AEn. Okay, where we have used the property Ei transpose Aej lambda I delta, right? Because Aej gives me lambda j Ej, Ej and Ei are going to be orthonormal. So because of that, Ej Ei is equal to delta Ij. Okay. Okay, so eigenvectors of A, these are which are orthonormal, which are orthonormalized. Yeah. So now I can write this down as X transpose AX to modulus U squared lambda 1 plus E lambda plus etc. etc. Transpose AEJ is equal to lambda J EI transpose J to lambda J delta J. Okay, so I get result. Okay, so you see that if lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda n are all greater than 0, then the right hand side is greater than 0. Okay, and the right hand is 0 only when x is equal to 0. So I have proved the first part, which is to say that you know, it is sufficient the eigenvectors, the eigenvalues of A all be positive for a matrix to be positive definite. Okay. Now I want to prove the other part. So the other part is, okay, if A is positive definite, then all eigenvalues is greater than 0. We do that. What it says for any x, x transpose AX is greater than 0. This is the given thing because the matrix A is positive definite. So in product, it's true for the eigenvector Ek of A. Okay, so what does it mean? So I have Ek transpose Ak greater than 0, or Ek is greater than 0, but Ek times Ek is 1 because it's orthonormalized. So I have lambda k greater than 0 as Ek is a normalized vector. So it is true for any eigenvector, x transpose Ax is greater than 0, means that the eigenvalues are 0. So it is a necessary and sufficient condition. It is necessary and sufficient for a matrix A to be positive. All its eigenvalues are positive. So you come across these positive definite matrices in many contexts. For example, in thermodynamics, you come across that, and then you also come across that in terms of the overlap matrix, which is greater than or equal to 0. And often when you are dealing with generalized eigenvalue problems, you come across these positive definite matrices. So I think what I'll do is I'll stop here for today, and we'll continue with this on Monday. Okay.
The reference books
Any questions?
for what you
Reference
did?
for this is Wilf. HS Wilf is a reference. Okay. And for the other things, you quantum mechanics, the reference books. Okay.
Okay. Sir, and what you
So-
did yesterday also we can find in the same book now.
Yeah, you can find in this thing, HS Wilf.
Okay.
Okay. So any other questions? Okay, so I'll stop here and let me exit. Okay then.